Bonjour à tous, je m'appelle Sarah El Mahi, je suis Deputy Director de Ceed Maroc et je vous remercie d'avoir répondu présent à cet événement qui s'inscrit dans le cadre de la conférence UfM Women for Mediterranean pour cette édition 2020 où nous allons découvrir ensemble l'histoire d'une femme marocaine leader. Alors aujourd'hui, à l'échelle mondiale, y compris au Maroc, les femmes participent fortement à la croissance économique et leur potentiel n'est plus à démontrer. Ces femmes dirigeantes et leaders sont réputées pour leur qualité d'écoute, d'humilité et d'empathie et pour la plupart d'entre elles, le leadership participatif est un must et l'épanouissement de leurs équipes est parmi leurs objectifs principaux. Cependant, malgré ces qualités que je viens de partager avec vous, nous les femmes sommes encore sous-représentées dans les positions dirigeantes, que ce soit dans le secteur privé ou public. Nous allons donc ensemble aujourd'hui découvrir l'histoire d'une femme marocaine leader qui partagera avec nous son parcours et ses challenges. Et je vous invite donc tout au long de cette session de partager avec nous vos tweets, vos posts en utilisant le hashtag affiché sur vos écrans. Alors aujourd'hui, je suis ravie et honorée de vous présenter Madame Samira Khmlichi, une femme marocaine d'exception, une des rares femmes marocaines à accéder à un poste de haut niveau dans le domaine de la finance. Et la première femme marocaine à être nommée PDG d'une filiale.
After her experience in teaching in France, she came back to the country and became a director of a banking agency and has had different relationships in marketing and other positions. Today, she is general director of Wafa Cash, one of the first establishments in financing in the Maghreb region over the mobile. So, Madam Khmlichi, thank you for having responded to our invitation. And we want to know how you got to where you are. Thank you so much for the invitation. I am so happy to speak about Moroccan female leaders and Moroccan leaders at large and what is it that we do in our country and the things that we still have to do in our country because there are so many things still to do, as you said, Sarah. It is important that we are all together, all women particularly, to make things move forward. As you mentioned, I started in the banking sector, and all my career has actually been in the banking sector. And I've worked for many people, but not as much as what we see today in terms of the volatility of the work market. But I have done many things and learned an awful lot from all those different responsibilities I've had. I didn't change my employer, but I did change my position and my responsibilities. Within the banking sector, obviously, there is the technicality of commercial banking and being with customers and responding to the needs of customers. And also, it is very interesting to see how you grow while dealing with customers. So this is very much a commercial approach. But I thought I could do other things here because it's not the only thing we can do in banking, commercial tasks. There's marketing, there's communications, there is training, there is organization in banking. So honestly, it's been very interesting for me to move from one position to another according to my whims, in a sense, and my employer's acquiescence in order to be able to do several things. I've been able to do even HR, organizational tasks, strategy, marketing. And so I embarked in an evolution logic, if you want, which has taken me to where I am today. I am at the helm of a financial institution. I'm the general manager. But of course, there's been a lot of willingness on my part and the part of my employers. I was ambitious, of course, and I wanted to do things, but I have been encouraged to do things. I wasn't on my own. The first person who encouraged me was, to begin with, my father, who allowed me to study, to go abroad and study. And it wasn't that easy a few years ago to go study abroad. But he has helped me. He never made me come back to Morocco. I came back voluntarily because I decided once I got my degree to come back to my country. Back then, I was one of the few that wanted to come back, and I don't regret the decision at all. It's been wonderful. It's been very interesting. And after all that, of course, throughout my life, I've met many people who have helped me and taught me things and have nurtured this willingness to succeed and to stay ahead and move ahead and show that women are so capable of doing things when we have the means and we can advance all together. This is really, really what I wanted to share. I leave it at that. Thank you so much. Today, do you think now in 2020, do you think it is still difficult for women to be in this kind of responsibility, high responsibility positions? I don't think it's as difficult. Of course, if we look at the numbers, they're still not good. So at some point that needs to change. We haven't managed to really find the right key to open the right door, as it were. But of course, often as women, there's another thing we should acknowledge, which is sometimes we lack the confidence in ourselves. And that lack of confidence is what makes us sometimes feel we do not have the right to go for those positions or to be in those positions. So we need to understand we are as legitimized and have the same right to those positions. Of course, if we accept a position of responsibility, obviously you need to really know what you're doing to a 95% or even more. In the case of a woman, you know, we are very much like that, whereby a young man, even if they have 25% of the technical competences, they say, yes, I take it and I learn, because we have trained them and educated them to, run greater risks in a sense. And that's what makes things complicated. Sometimes, this is the problem. I give this example often. Sometimes in our context in the East particularly, things are not exactly what they should be in terms of the context. When a little boy is one year and a half, we give them a ball to play, for instance, and they look for somebody else to play because you can't play football on your own. And that's the beginning of networking, you see? Whereas a little girl, what is she going to receive as a present? We give basically dolls to little girls, for which, and to play with a doll, you don't need anybody else. So automatically, in a sense, we condemn them, as it were, to start networking much later than men in that sense. Perhaps when she goes to school. So you see, we create that gap, even ourselves in society, right from the start. So perhaps we should give dolls to boys and footballs to girls to try and redress this balance or find the right balance so that our country can evolve truly and ensure everybody can contribute and develop our country economically and socially. Absolutely. Before moving on to the third question, participants are always going to share questions with you, which we will pose to you later on. You are a woman that has developed a network, and you talk about how important networking is. So what are the traits today of female leaders today, is the third question. What would you say? Beyond technical competences and skills, the traits are human traits, as it were. Being empathetic, that is the main difference, perhaps, if we compare female leaders and male leaders. I'm not too fan of female leadership as a term, because I think leadership is leadership, male or female. But apparently, our attitude as leaders is more caring, because our mindset is different. And so the way we react, the way we think is different. And this is evolutionary in a sense. So oftentimes, we do not say we do this first and we do this second as they do, but rather we go home, we think hard with collaborators, with the environment, we think about everything, all the implications, we take into account the whole holistic picture. And this mixture of considerations is perhaps, or comes a little bit easier for us, which enables us to perhaps be more empathetic, even if we are also demanding with our collaborators at work. But that human trait of being empathetic is something that is going to be at the heart of the strategy of a leader, because the world is becoming more and more digitized. The evolution is there, as we can see. Many things are changing, and we must not forget that we are human beings, nevertheless, and this human or humanness, this humanity is mobilizing. This gives leaders the ability to be creative, to lead, to accompany collaborators. Instead of saying, I'm the boss here, I've made it, and you do what I say. Because that's not a way you lead, a way to lead. Leaders listen. Leaders are empathetic and share. So it is true that that's how we can make the difference as women. But all leaders should be like that. So the difference between female leadership and leadership, in a way, is not there anymore. No, there's leadership and there's people who kind of lead. It depends on the way we want to manage people and to lead people. We can be empathetic or not as leaders, whether we are men or women. And being difficult as leaders doesn't help. Leadership is something that we either have or not have, even though we can polish it, of course. And men or women can be good leaders. It's just the way you practice leadership that perhaps is slightly different, but it adapts to the context always, more than anything else. If a woman is in a context where there are all men around her, her leadership is probably going to be different to the leadership she would implement if she had women in her team. So I think leadership should be the same. Okay, thank you so much for having clarified this point, because yes, there tends to be this difference being made between female and male leadership. In 2018, you were nominated President Director of the Group Habda. You are the first managing director of a branch of the group. So how did you receive that appointment? It was quite interesting because, yes, indeed, I was managing director already of the branch, and I had a chair of the board, a man I loved to bits, who was my boss, actually. And during years, that was the situation. There were no problems. But in 2018, Mr. Bukaljid decided to take it a bit further and not only keep me at the position, but also make me managing director to take full responsibility for the branch, for the subsidiary rather, not the branch. And I didn't expect it. It was a big surprise, to be quite honest. One morning, he came and said, Samira, you become managing director when we finish this meeting. And I said, oh, okay, that's good. And after that, I realized it fell on me, the realization of the responsibility, because being managing director of a banking company in Morocco was big news, big news. I was the first. It was the first time that I was a managing director in the group. It was the first time that a woman was in that position in a financial institution. And I just didn't really know how that had happened, but in a sense, nothing really changed. It was something that didn't change much in my daily operations, but there was a lot more responsibility. Nothing changed in my family, saying, "Oh, I'm the managing director now. You pay homage to me," or anything like that. It was very natural. And I want to thank all of them for having given me the company, and my boss for having given me the confidence back in the time. But my attitude was the attitude of somebody who was actually asking herself, do I deserve this really? And I said, probably yes, otherwise they wouldn't have given me this responsibility. But this is very typical of women. Do I deserve this? Do I deserve this? It's a very typical female question. And we must stop thinking that so much and just think, if we've been given something, let us make the most of it. It must be we deserve it if we've been given it. So what has been the reaction of the people around you, your surroundings, when you were appointed to that position? My husband is a banker also, and he said, wow, you have more responsibility than me. That's great. Has a lot of legal responsibility being managing director. So, he was really proud, actually, apart from, joking about it. Yeah, my entourage was really proud of me, really. All the people around me were thrilled. But after that, they assimilated the news and everything continued as usual. We didn't change homes. We didn't change the neighborhood we lived in. And we were who and where we were before. And I was going shopping every Saturday as usual. I've met you within the Ceed, where you were a mentor. And you have taken part in the board, in charge of Ceed Morocco, and you're absolutely amazing. I've said it already, but I reiterate, you are wonderful with a huge heart, who shares advice left, right, and center, sharing experience with everybody who wants to be entrepreneurial within the Ceed. Last March, Morocco, as the rest of the world, has been impacted by the healthcare crisis. And of course, everybody was locked down for weeks. And you've been the managing director of UfM. How did you react to this crisis, this situation? And what were the first decisions you made in the face of the crisis? We lived through the crisis with a lot of serenity, despite all the stress, because we were facing the unknown. But we've been very calm about it all. We have put together a small committee, a small team of directors, comms specialists, some collaborators, to think about how we could raise ourselves out of this problem. It was totally unknown what we were facing, something unknown to everybody, which was COVID-19. And we were living in a lockdown, which was totally new also. There were so many things that were new and unknown and uncertain. And at UfM, we have a structure with 2,000 service points around the country. We are a public service, truly. We have a network throughout the country in 400, almost 500 locations in the country. So how could we ensure that we provided our service and that there was continuity in the service? That was the big question. In the whole of the country, no less. And we are also to sub-Saharan countries. So how were we going to manage the other two countries as well as Morocco? That was the question. How are we going to manage? We said our collaborators. It was obviously complicated because we had prepared spaces with machines available to be able to work in business as usual. But with the lockdown, obviously physically, there was nothing we could do. And so we've decided with the team that we put together in 2 days, we've migrated to a virtual system, totally digital system, where everybody had the tools in their homes so that they could work and guarantee daily operations in these 10,000 selling points that were up and running. So being open meant that the information systems worked. It meant guaranteeing that obviously the money was available at the selling points. And more than anything else, it was about guaranteeing the safety of our collaborators. Because at the end of the day, the most important thing for us was how to protect our collaborators. Once the technicians have organized everything, we were faced with a very straightforward problem that was far more serious then, which was how to find masks, face masks for collaborators to be protected when they dealt with customers, how to find the hydroalcoholic solution and products for the cleanliness of hands so that people would be safe while guaranteeing our service to customers. And believe me, it wasn't easy at all. It was easier to have computers for everybody than buying hydroalcoholic gel and masks. We needed the networking for that more than anything else to find those face masks and the gel. I had to call a friend to be able to get, quickly all those products to guarantee the security of collaborators. And on the basis of that, we have each in our own lockdown spaces, we've tried to continue with our activity. And what was really important is that we stayed connected. We had a board meeting every day, even if it was just to crack a joke together, to talk about serious stuff, obviously, but also to talk about not so serious stuff. We've stayed connected. We've continued to talk to each other, to be close to each other. We have also now have usual board meetings, committee meetings, face-to-face, but we've maintained meetings with the sales teams and with other teams. We've managed and wanted to keep those links. And so we've moved into this logic of accompanying and guaranteeing health in all aspects, physical and mental and emotional. We have tried to create an event every day in terms of a connection event where we could be in touch with all the collaborators to give them advice, to share something with them, something to go visit, a virtual museum, something to do at home. Some yoga class online, some recipe online. So we've gone into this logic of staying with all the collaborators during the lockdown and being in touch and staying in touch. And authorities requested that we could help distribute the social aid that's been distributed in Morocco. And we've been faced with so many people that came to us every day who were in need of that aid. So we had to really guarantee the service. And I also had to see what was happening in the other countries where we have operations and accompany each country and help them manage the situation and follow up on their situation. Whether there was a collaborator who was sick, I was on the phone helping find somebody else and so on and so forth. We've really tried to make the most of the human side of things and use it to the most. And that's a very important logic that we've applied and has enabled us to, thank God, be very calm about all that's happened with a minimum stress, despite the stress. And today we are almost in a lockdown again. We are working from home and we stay connected. So this is the logic that has enabled us to do things. This is what we try to do. And I want to thank everybody who works with me and has enabled us to do this. Towards the end of the lockdown, actually, this is an anecdote, we've created a song that I have already shared with you. Yes, that's my next question. Yeah, we've created a song for collaborators who worked in agencies to say thank you to them. Thank you for all you've done. And, you've been heroes. We talk about heroes. They've been heroes because thanks to them, we've ensured the continuity of our activities. Technicians were super good, but if you don't have the people at the forefront in touch with the customers in the service points, we couldn't have done anything else. And so this is the logic, and it's all ended up well, thankfully. I've seen a video. I was really moved by seeing all the Wafaka's collaborators thanking these people who were at the forefront during the pandemic and during the crisis when we're all in lockdown. Yes, absolutely. It's incredible. They are true heroes. Yes, you've been able to respond to the needs of your customers in the moment of crisis. Thanks to them. So, what would be your word of advice? What would you say to managers and entrepreneurs who are in charge of other companies to face situations such as the current crisis? I think when we are leading a company, first, we need to be successful at what we are trying to do with the company. And obviously for that, we need to know what we are doing. But even if the situation is difficult, we must be confident that we are going to find opportunities in any situation. And that is very important. Maybe it's about just changing the way we target customers, the orientation of the way we go about things. Okay, if it's not physical, we go to digital, for instance. If not digital, we can try something else. Just be always on our feet, thinking, not losing sight of the overall goal and trying to get there somehow, and accepting, also being questioned, because obviously we don't know everything. I accept people coming up to me and telling me things could be done differently, because I've done things probably the same way 10 years and something, and that doesn't mean it's the only way. And so if things change and the environment change, maybe things need to happen differently. So the first challenge is facing up to, this questioning, of course. And also we need to love what we do, because if we love what we do and if we share, people who work with us want to work with us and will go along with us in whatever we do. If they see you value them, they are going to respond in kind. If we accept being questioned, if we accept sharing with others, and we love what we do, I think there is no reason why we shouldn't be successful. And we also have to be ambitious, but within our means. Things don't happen overnight. It needs to happen with a lot of effort, step by step. And you need to think the first month I'm going to do this, the first year I'm going to be here, the second month I'm going to be there. And we need to challenge ourselves to get to where we want to be. Even if, I don't know, today, for instance, we'll have COVID, tomorrow it'll be something else, a virus or something else. We'll continue to live with problems. Today is the pandemic, it's a healthcare problem. Tomorrow it could be some other kind of problem that we haven't thought of or we cannot even imagine today. So it's the same logic to adapt and to react against in the face of difficulties with ideas, and to transform ideas into realities.
Thank you very much, Madam. And now I'm just going to give the floor to the audience, I have just already received some questions that I'm going to share with you. So through the chat, Madam Khamishi, do you believe that the world post-COVID-19 will be adapted to the style, to the feminine style of leadership and entrepreneurship? Yes, it will be more and more adapted to the feminine style, because more and more we are going to put the humans in the heart of our preoccupations. And human means the suppliers, the clients, the teams. So the more empathetic we are, the more we are just open, we are just listening, and the more women are going to be top of the tops. So basically women, they need to have self-confidence to say, this is the moment for me just to occupy my place in the world in order to contribute the society to the development of our societies, because we cannot allow ourselves today to have the half of the population in a country, because in all countries we are 50% of the population. We cannot have half of the population that's almost not operational just because we are women. This just is not acceptable. Our countries cannot allow themselves to have so many people who have studies, who have all the opportunities to achieve success, but who just are not sure if they can or cannot. So that's why we need to move forward. Of course, we can make errors, so we're going to redo things, and I believe that women have the best opportunities in order to make things evolve. Thank you so much. We have more questions through the chat. Do you have any suggestions for women who are just looking for opportunities and mentoring? And actually, are you a mentor? Of course, I am a mentor, and yes, with Ceed, I am a mentor. I'm a mentor in an association that is called Mentor L in Morocco, and we are just mentoring quite a few young women. I'm just working with women working for change with a group called Young Africa, and we are just we go beyond the level of just mentors in order to help young women in projects. Of course, I just believe that it is more and more important to really share and to listen and to be simple and plain. A leader does not mean, does not need to have grades in order to be a good person. Thank you so much. So basically, if you're just looking for mentoring, so please, you have Madame Khamlishi. So basically, you can just call me also. So Madame Khamlishi, there are other questions through this chat. Do you believe that it is still possible in 2020 to celebrate the Women's Day? I detest this day. To be very honest with you, I'm one of the very rare women. Well, actually, in our teams, basically, I would say 47%, 53% women, 47% men, 53%. And despite all, I just don't celebrate anything. And I say, because, I mean, the Women's Day, it is not a celebration day. It was a day that was created in order just to get our rights, basically. Well, actually, Women's Day should be every day. So in Morocco, for example, we have the week, the horse week, and the women day. So the horses have 1 week and women have 1 day. No, I'm sorry, we have 365 days, women. Yes, okay, so female leadership in force. So the African and Moroccan feminine leadership wanted to share with all of you this information. So do you have more questions in the chat? There is a question about the values. The leadership has to be based on values. What are your values? My values, I'm very sorry, I'm not. Well, frankly, I am a very plain person. I've always been plain. A lot of respect. You need to be frank, you need to be transparent. This is how I was educated, and I cannot just behave differently. And I believe that the value of sharing, of listening, of being available, these values are extremely important for somebody who really wants to help and be helped. And also, how can you imagine that we could today train women leaders for tomorrow based on these values? So they have to practice these values every day. They have to be convinced, because if they are convinced with these values, they will be practicing them every day, just naturally. So basically, it's done. They don't need to mentoring. And do you believe that it's an easy exercise? Well, basically, no, it is a real discipline. You really have to be disciplined, basically, just to oblige yourself to be based on values, because life does not oblige us. Do you believe that it's difficult for women in general, or just for African women? Well, for women in general, basically, we face problems. But globally, when we look at African women, when we look at women in sub-Saharan Africa, in Nigeria, in Cote d'Ivoire, in Senegal, when we look at all these women, these women are just wonderful. We have wonderful experiences, wonderful role models for the world. We really cannot envy any other continent. We have absolutely everything that we need in our continent. The only thing that we need is just to really believe in ourselves, just to really believe that we have exactly the same right of men to really access things. I had the pleasure to meet an enormous amount of African women, and they are top of the tops, basically. Do you believe that there are some African women who really stroke you? Well, there are so many. I just don't want to make a list of names, but anyway, many. There are many African women that really impressed me and inspired me. What's interesting is that young and not that young women impressed me. There are young Moroccans who are just absolutely fantastic and brilliant. Through a video conference just a few weeks ago, I just met a young Moroccan girl who lives in the United States, and I thought this young woman needs to come back to her country. There is an enormous amount of capacities. There's an enormous amount of wonderful profiles, but we need to accept just to push them forward. And for this, the role of men is extremely important, because men need to accept to share the scene. So we cannot just keep the scene only for one gender and not the other. So sharing the scene is extremely important. And I hope that men are just listening to us, and they will accept to share the scene with Moroccan women and African women. Well, yes. Oh, absolutely. And I'm just crossing my fingers. Well, we have other questions that are arriving. For example, Mrs. Khamlishi, were you inspired by a personality, a female personality? What is the female personality that always inspires you? I don't know, that inspired you in the past? Well, actually, you are the first CEO, Moroccan CEO of a bank. So what is the female personality that still impress you and inspire you today? You know, throughout my life, I had always many women who inspired me. When I was younger, it was Mother Teresa, and then Indira Gandhi, and I had so many women inspiring me. But there is one woman that I just absolutely love, that does not have anything to do with finance, but who does wonderful things. And this is Michelle Obama, because I believe that this woman is just absolutely amazing. Being the wife of a president is not an easy task, and she really behaved wonderfully. So the leadership can be put in practice even outside of the professional world. And being the wife of a president who accepted to share the scene, and this is extremely important. So that's why I was just talking about sharing the scene. It is absolutely of great importance to accept sharing the scene. So the definition of success, Ms. Khamlishi, in 3 words? Dear, well, I would say trust, 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 or confidence, 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 because success without confidence, the more we trust in ourselves, the more we are confident in ourselves, in our environment, the more trust that we have with people who just surround us, the success will definitely be there. I'm absolutely convinced of this. Well, Ms. Khamlishi, thank you so much for sharing with us your story and your advices. We can only admire your story. Ladies, I hope that this exchange inspired you and really pushed you to follow the same path. Ms. Samira, do you have any last word? Well, thank you again for inviting me, for allowing me to share my experience. I'm going to be very frank with you, myself. Usually I just don't like cameras and lights, and and it's just for you that I accepted to answer to your questions. I did it for you. And the last word, basically, if we really have confidence in ourselves, and if we really commit to move forward, there is no reason for the doors to remain closed. If we really follow the idea to think there are no reasons for me not to reach success. I need to find the means. I need to find a way to really achieve success. We will. Well, of course, we're not going to achieve success immediately. So we will need to try. And this is a trial and error. We need to accept, to maybe miss certain things, to commit errors. And this is how we're going to improve ourselves. And we are going to reach the success. So we need to accept to move together. We need to accept solidarity. We need to accept also seeking help and helping the others. And we need to accept that we have exactly the same rights as men. And there is no reason why women cannot really thrive like men. Thank you so much for all of you to be with us, and I hope to see you tomorrow at 9:30, and we'll be talking about how to prevent and address violence against women in the context of a crisis. Thank you to all of you. I hope that this session inspired you and pushed you to move forward, and I hope to see you very soon. Thank you very much, and farewell.